week 17 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few prospects I look to stash and possibly add this week. So with the MLB trade deadline over, this is the time where you start seeing a lot of prospects in August come up and play, especially for teams not contending and who just sold off a bunch of pieces. First prospect, Junior Caminero of the Tampa Bay Rays. So this Ray team had a big fire sale, trading Randy Arozarena, their cornerstone player, trading Isaac Pardes, and also trading Zach Eflin as well as the big pieces, and Jason Adam off their roster. So now Caminero, there's going to be ways they're going to find that bats for Caminero. I know they got Christopher Morel in that deal with Pardes with the Chicago Cubs, but right now, Caminero, number 3 prospect in all Major League Baseball. I know this season has been great for him in the minor leagues, and he missed some time with injury as well. But right now, there's openings in Tampa. Like I said, on the season, 13 home runs, 32 RBIs, a 258 average, a 332 on base percentage, 30 runs scored in 194 at-bats. Caminero, we had a cup of coffee last season in the major leagues. We played in 7 games with a home run and 7 RBIs. So he's a blue chipper. He's in AAA. He's pretty much done it all on the minor league level. And he's number 3 prospect overall for a reason. So Caminero available in 70% of fantasy leagues. But like I said, it's not going to be surprising if he's up in a couple days or a week or two for this Tampa Bay Ray team. Next prospect, Dylan Cruz of the Washington Nationals. So this national team, they played a little bit over their head this season. People thought they'd be worse in the standings, but they still sold off major pieces at the MLB trade deadline. Lane Thomas, they traded him away. They traded away Jesse Winker. And obviously those are 2 outfielders. And Dylan Cruz, one of the top prospects in all Major League Baseball, number 4 overall. And he's an outfielder, so I think he's going to come up to the major league sooner than later. And he's having a great year in AAA besides batting average. 9 home runs, 54 RBIs, 20 stolen bases, 45 runs scored, a 265 average, and a 338 on base percentage, and a 436 slugging. So Dylan Cruz, I know the average isn't great, not a power hitter, but stolen bases, runs scored, and on base percentage is what he's going to bring this Washington national team. And they already called up James Wood a month ago to the major league roster. And then I think Dylan Cruz is going to come up as well, because like I said, this national team, they traded 2 outfielders away at the major league trade deadline. Obviously, they're not in a playoff push. And Dylan Cruz, he's ready to come up. Expected time in the major leagues was going to be this season. So right now, I believe he'll be up sooner than later as well. And there's no reason keeping him down there in the minor leagues with the Nationals once again not making the playoffs. And it's time to see what the young players have with the next couple months left in the season. So Cruz available right now in 90% of fantasy leagues. Next prospect, Connor Noby of the Miami Marlins. So we saw Noby got traded in the Trevor Rogers deal, and I think the Marlins did a great job at the deadline. They got a haul for Tanner Scott. They got a good deal for Trevor Rogers, a pitcher with a 4.5 ERA, to get Connor Noby in a deal. I think is a nice trade for them. Connor Noby had a cup of coffee in the major leagues this season with Baltimore. 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, and only 32 at-bats. And now with this Miami Marlin team, he's going to be up sooner than later, I believe, is Connor Noby. On the season in AAA this year, 16 home runs, 57 RBIs, 13 stolen bases, a 297 average, and a whopping 389 on base percentage with 71 runs scored and 320 at-bats. And Noby, he did it all in the AAA level. We know this Marlin team, they're going nowhere, and they got $14 million left on their payroll. Most players make more than their whole payroll left after they dumped off their veterans, was this Miami Marlin team. But like I said, this Marlin team, they got a nice haul of prospects in the trades they made. For AJ Puck to get De Los Santos, that was a good deal for them. Then to get Connor Noby in the Trevor Rogers deal, and then to get Robbie Snelling and Adam Mazur and Paulie as top prospects in that Tanner Scott was a great deal for them. So right now, this Marlin team, they're on the right track of rebuilding. In the next couple years, I think they could have a solid roster, especially with the starting pitching in this farm system for Miami. So right now, Connor Noby, like I said, he's been up already in the major leagues, cup of coffee, and there was nowhere for him to play, obviously, for Baltimore, where they're a team that was going for it. But right now, with this Miami Marlin team, he plays some outfield, plays second base. I know second base is a position that's taken right now over there in Miami, but with them trading De La Cruz off, I think he could find a spot in the corner outfield. So Connor Noby, the number 5 prospect in this system, and he's available Iznobi in 94% of fantasy leagues. Next prospect's Jacob Misiorowski of the Milwaukee Brewers. So Misiorowski, he just got called up to AAA, and he's been a prospect that's been on the radar on and off this season. I've spoken about him. Number 2 prospect in the Brewers system, and the number 32 prospect in all Major League Baseball. Available 97% of fantasy leagues. So this season in AA with the Brewers, 3-4 record, 3.50 ERA. Started 19 games, 79 and 2/3, 105 strikeouts, 1.28 WHIP. So Misiorowski, he's got great stuff in the minor leagues. I know he's a little bit wild, the WHIP's a little high for people's liking minor leagues, but now he gets the call up to AAA. And this Brewer team, I know they went out there and got Frankie Montas, but Frankie Montas, I don't think he's a great upgrade. I know DL Hall, he'll be back sooner than later. Joe Ross back in the rotation. But Misiorowski, if he could dominate in AAA for a few weeks, I think this Brewer team, where right now they're in first place in the NL Central, is going to call up this kid and see what he has, because sometimes we've seen young players come up and help in a pennant race for a team and them take the next step. Because to be honest, with the pitchers in this rotation, Misiorowski, besides Freddie Peralta, I think have the most upside out of anyone I've mentioned in this Brewer rotation. And the Brewers, they've went through a carousel of starting pitching this season. I know they solidified a little bit getting Aaron Civale a few weeks ago from Tampa Bay, and now they traded for Frankie Montas. But like I said, Misiorowski, he could be up another injury or two to someone in the major league sooner than later. So like I said, he just has to work on control, because he's got 50 walks, which is a lot on the season, and their whip is a 1.28. So if he could work on control and dominate in AAA over the next few weeks here, I think Misiorowski could be a good call-up, and he can help, obviously, this Brewer team of fantasy owners. And available 97% of fantasy leagues. And the fifth and final prospect I look to watch and stash this week's Rhett Lauder of the Cincinnati Reds. I've mentioned Lauder a lot this season on this list. Available 98% of fantasy leagues, number 20 prospect in all Major League Baseball, and the number 1 prospect in this Red system on the season. 4-4 record, 4.46 ERA, 18 games started, 84 and 2/3, 1.25 WHIP, and 88 strikeouts on the season for Lauder. So Lauder, I know the numbers haven't been good in the minor leagues this season, but he's at the AA level with the Cincinnati Red team. And this Red team, that, like I mentioned, they just traded off Frankie Montas. Graham Ashcraft, he's been in and out of the rotation. And if another injury or two arises for Cincinnati, he's going to be up in the major leagues. And like I said, the Reds, they traded some pieces off, where I know they were only 5-6 games out of a wild card, but they got to jump too many teams, and they sold off a couple pieces at the deadline. So right now, Rhett Lauder, expectancy for him to be in the major leagues was going to be this season. And like I said, with Frankie Montas out of the rotation and traded away, instead of giving a spot to Nick Martinez or a veteran, I think this Red team sooner than later will give Lauder a look to see what he has and possibly for the future. So that's a few prospects I look to watch and stash for Week 17 of the fantasy baseball season.